Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving right in to unpack the absolute life-changing power of waking up at dawn. We're going to do this by looking at the real-life system of a guy who went from feeling completely hopeless and stuck to wildly successful in just 90 days. It all centers around one massive focus, exactly why 5 a.m. changes your life.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts of how this system actually works, we got to talk about Thomas. Thomas was a 32-year-old night security guard. He lived in this tiny, one-room apartment with a broken fan, literally sleeping on a mattress on the floor. Every morning around 6 a.m., just completely exhausted from working the night shift, he'd walk home, and he would look through the windows of his town and just watch the rest of the world waking up to live their dreams. You know, families eating breakfast, guys in clean shirts heading off to the office, and he would ask himself this incredibly painful, haunting question. Will this be my life forever?
Which brings us to Chapter 1, A Life Stuck on Pause.
So Thomas was really barely surviving. He felt like he was living his life backwards. He was awake when the rest of the world slept, and asleep when it worked. But his absolute breaking point, that finally arrived on a freezing cold November morning. He got a call that his overworked mom, who lived out in the countryside, had collapsed from sheer exhaustion and stress. Rushing to the village clinic, he found her incredibly weak in a hospital bed. They couldn't even afford the medicine or the nutritious food she needed. And from that bed, she delivered this heartbreaking plea. She begged him, "Please, my son, do not waste your life like I wasted mine." She told him he had to find a way out.
That leads us right into Chapter 2, The Magic of 5 a.m.
Stepping outside that clinic into the cool, dark air right before dawn, it was exactly 5 a.m. Standing there, Thomas made a rock-solid vow to find a way out. And that vow led to a chance encounter on an early morning bus ride back to town. He met a wealthy, highly successful local businessman named Mr. Chun. They got to talking, and Mr. Chun revealed that his secret was waking up at 4:30 every single morning to read and plan before the world even started stirring. He called the hours between 5 and 7 a.m. his magic hours. When they met up later at a cafe, Mr. Chun grabbed a pen and sketched out this really simple math. He showed Thomas that if you dedicate just 2 morning hours, look at how fast it compounds. 14 hours a week, 60 hours a month, 730 hours a year.
Now, here is where it gets absolutely crazy. The ultimate payoff of that simple math is staggering. Those 730 hours you gain in a single year, that equals exactly 91 full 8-hour workdays. Just think about that for a second. 91 full workdays of completely uninterrupted, hyper-focused time that you just created out of thin air.
So the really crucial takeaway here is that just by shifting your wake-up time, you are literally granting yourself 3 extra months of productive time every single year. You're handing yourself a quarter of a year to build your foundation, all while the rest of the world is literally unconscious.
All right, moving to Chapter 3, the 2-hour building system.
Now, let's be real. Having all that extra time is totally useless if you don't have a plan. You can't just wake up early and start scrolling on your phone. So Mr. Chun handed Thomas a highly structured, non-negotiable daily blueprint to make sure those 2 hours actually count. Step 1, you dedicate that very first hour from 5 to 6 a.m. exclusively to building skills. You learn something that will actually change your financial situation. This could be an online course, watching YouTube tutorials for a specific trade, or even learning a new language. Step 2, from 6 to 7 a.m., you focus on building your body and mind. You exercise, you go for a walk, you stretch, and then you read or plan out your day. Your body is your vehicle for success, right? If it breaks down, literally none of those new skills are going to matter.
Let's look at Chapter 4, 3 Rules for Success.
Look, it's pretty easy to write a nice schedule down on paper, but it is incredibly difficult to execute in real life. To make sure this framework actually sticks and produces real-world results, Mr. Chun gave Thomas 3 strict rules. You absolutely must follow these. Rule number 1, no negotiation. You cannot negotiate with your alarm clock. And yes, that means every single day, including weekends. The second you say, just today I'll skip it, you fail. Rule number 2, you have got to protect your sleep by going to bed at 9 p.m. You simply cannot cheat sleep and expect to perform at a high level. And finally, rule number 3, you have to accept that your body is going to strongly protest. Honestly, that first week, it'll be absolute hell. You just have to push through that initial pain.
Mr. Chun challenged Thomas to commit to this for 3 full months, and he based that challenge on a really well-known psychological timeline for total identity transformation. Basically, it takes 21 days of pushing through the pain for a grueling new routine to just start feeling normal. But if you stick with it relentlessly for 90 days, it fundamentally changes who you are as a person.
Which brings us to our final section, Chapter 5, the 90-Day Challenge.
Let's see what happens when the rubber meets the road. Remember, Thomas was an exhausted night guard with absolutely no prior advantages. He literally had to flip his night shift sleep schedule upside down just so he could be awake at 5 a.m. to try this. And this timeline proves the staggering return on investment. On day 1, Thomas fought agonizing exhaustion. He's sitting there in the dark, eyes burning, watching free Excel tutorials on his tiny phone screen. But by day 20, his body adapted. He actually started waking up at 4:58 a.m. right before his alarm even went off. By month 3, using the Excel skills he learned at dawn, he built a simple spreadsheet that totally fixed his warehouse's terrible inventory system. And on day 87, management noticed. They pulled him into the office and offered him a daytime job as the lead accountant. That instantly doubled his salary. Fast forward 1 year later, he was so successful he completely moved his mother out of poverty and brought her into town so she could get the proper medical care she needed.
But honestly, here is the absolute best part of Thomas's story. Even after achieving all of this, getting the big promotion, moving his mom, he kept his 5 a.m. habit. His coworkers were super confused. They asked him, "Why are you still waking up so early? You've already made it." And he just looked at them and shared this exact philosophy. Success is not a destination. It is a daily practice. When you look at all this, it really boils down to one massive choice. Are you going to hit snooze? Because hitting snooze means letting life just happen to you. It means giving in to distractions, endless scrolling, and just kind of living backwards. Or are you going to choose waking to build? At 5 a.m., the world is completely quiet. There are no notifications popping up, no meetings to run to. You wake up to a totally distraction-free environment where your willpower is at its absolute peak, and that allows you to quietly focus on changing your path. So if you're watching this explainer right now, you have internet, you have an education, and you have opportunity. If you are tired of feeling stuck, here is your practical, step-by-step game plan for tomorrow morning. First, set your alarm for exactly 5 a.m. tonight. Not 5:15, not 5:30, 5 sharp. Second, put your phone all the way across the room so you physically have to stand up to turn it off. Third, pick just one specific skill or idea to build in that first hour. Focus is key. Fourth, commit to this relentlessly for 90 days. And finally, tonight, cut the Netflix, put down the phone, and get to sleep by 9 p.m.
Your life can absolutely change, and not just someday in the future, but right now. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to wrap up our explainer. Your future self is waiting on the other side of that alarm clock. Do not make them wait another day. So, what will you build in your first hour tomorrow? Start planning it out right now, set that alarm, and we will see you in the next explainer.